Yeah, thank you. So we were declared born digital by the New Institute, and for us that was a funny thing, but also in a way a lie, because we had this secret in the basement. Here it is. So today, this morning, the last of our archive was actually moved out of our old office. There's a lot of stuff. But why do we have an archive as architecture office? Well, first of all, we are forced legally to have one. Second is because the archive has a lot of content that we like, our legacy. We want to keep that. That's actually the legal part is where we are forced to. The legacy is what we want to preserve. And we didn't have a way to do it. And see, this is our archive. There's actually insects in it and everything. So we were not so kind to it. And lots of boxes. That's not digital. See, we even have paper. But what you see is that all this to us doesn't mean a lot. What means a lot is actually the meaning of the text that you see there. For us, that was important. The content is very precious to us. And you need to talk about the content when you talk about an archive, I think, actually. And who are we? We are this office that likes to zoom out. We were raised by the warning of the Club of Rome that one day, if we all live like Americans, we run out of space. We need the Earth 4.3 times. We also grew up with this vision of the future, that everything can be solved through technology. And those two things somehow in our entire history, we kept connecting with each other. And one of the big problems of architecture is sprawl. Now, this litters the planet. This is really bad stuff. So we said, okay, we need to densify the planet, but not maybe like Hong Kong, because when Hong Kong densifies, people suffer because it's bad. It's not good. So we dream about these things. Suburban villas that you can stack on top of each other, but maybe it's built right next to the opera house, so you have a nice urban setting. Our very first project, which is now part of the collection of the New Institute, was this, a part of an entire neighborhood stacked on top of each other with sport fields, with swimming pool, offices, school, different apartments for everybody. You see, in Istanbul, they like to have the same apartment 800 times, maybe 1,000 times. We think it's bad. It's not good quality. You need to have these vertical pieces of city. And we built them. And while we were building this building, for example, we were continuously changing it according to the market, different types. And you see we had these weird diagrams, and we really needed computer programs to make that. So whenever we started to do something, it became complex, and the computer would help us a lot to actually find a way in our work. So we are not computer nerds or something. It's just very useful to have those. And every progress came with incredibly new possibilities, but also caused a problem that suddenly we couldn't read the old stuff anymore. So basically we archived it in boxes and never looked after it too much anymore. I mean, I don't even know what this is, but or that 88 MB, woohoo. So we have lots of these relics from the past, and we are very, very happy that these are now the problem of the New Institute. But what we basically did, we had these films. Imagine this to be the building, and you would see it, you would circle it in a movie on 3 sides, and then basically this computer needed a week to calculate it out, and we couldn't do any changes, and it was extremely expensive to do those things. But we did them because we thought they had a very strong quality. As a byproduct, we started to make these renders. So suddenly you see this Photoshop people and really crude kind of way of representation that entered the office, but we also liked it a lot because it was all new, and this is then how the building looked like. How do we use this archive then? Well, basically we just go back there to find our old ideas and maybe develop them a little bit further. And it's quite impressive. We have now 675 projects, so if I would tell you all about those projects in this lecture, I would have 2.2 seconds for each project. So that's not going to work. So what we do a lot is actually we find these red threads in our development, and therefore the archive is really good. You can tag our projects with different values, and then you get a totally different idea of the richness and the depth of the archive. For example, we can discover some developments like the render history. We're born digital. We started with stuff like this. Very beautiful, very strong, expressive volumes. We made these collages, half paper, half computer, and then we followed basically the possibilities of the computer. Is this our design, or is this computer progress? Well, maybe it's a bit of both, and you can really follow how this is going. And maybe also with other architecture offices, but that's not what I can do here. This is more for you people. You can basically go to the website of the New Institute and you can start to research, and you can use our projects and put them in all kinds of contexts. That's really wonderful that people can do it. So see, and here we have reached a stage where we really like the render. It's a bit dark, it's a bit expressive. This is fantastic. It's slightly abstract and still kind of precise. Sadly, our clients didn't like it. They thought it was depressing. So we had to learn to make really good renders, even though if you see this, it's pretty close, huh? So we're not lying. But now we have to basically learn to be more commercial. So we tried it like that, didn't work. And then colors and happiness. And I have a fantastic movie where I can show you the year production of our render team. In 1 year, they made 480 renders, and it's like a near-death experience because you see all those images popping up for an entire year. But you're very lucky because the technology doesn't allow you to see it. Maybe we can do it at the end, it's funny. But also we still use a lot of models. Models are still really important. Also the sketch models. On this table you see in white the project, how it will be built, and the blue models on the top of the table, they are all the options that we had done before. Quite often we would throw them away, but we still have the digital version of those. So there's a question, do we need those blue form models, or is it good enough to have the PDFs of the earlier options? Also something I don't have to find a solution to because Suzanne needs to do that. And then we have these big models. And the New Institute wanted to have those, but we can't really say goodbye to them yet. So for now, we borrow them from them. You could also look at our archive and that's really, really shocking if you do that. And you basically, in a regional way. What did we do in Germany, for example? And we're really busy with that. Germany is this big country next to the Netherlands, very rich. They build a lot, and we want to be active there. And Germany doesn't want us to be active there. So they say a lot of no. And then if you consider that we built the Expo 2000 there, we thought Germans like our wild style of architecture. But no, we didn't build this one, we didn't build that one, we did not build this, neither that, or this, or this. And Sarah did build this one. She also did very well, I must say. Zeche Zollverein was OMA, VW was also Zaha. So all these beautiful, and we should have built that, no? Don't you think? It's really funny. Also didn't come. And then suddenly, if you collect all those things, you suddenly see projects where you think, well, we tried to become Germans. See, this is really boring stuff. And still they didn't want it from us. So what's wrong? Maybe we shouldn't, we even tried classicism in Berlin in a very tight environment. And still that was a no. That was a no, and so we continue. So it's an enormous amount of failed projects in a way. And here we are trying to be German again. And it's apparently not convincing if we try to be German. We're not made to be German. And so all this is not. But thank God something also worked. So you see, we built this in this surrounding a box house. And it was so new and so innovative for the Germans that they had to really, the city government of Stuttgart had to decide whether it was okay to build it there. Up to the Oberbaudirektor, which is the highest authority in construction of that land, the Bundesland Nordrhein-Westfalen, Baden-Württemberg, had to basically decide whether this was okay. We succeeded. We built this villa in Munich. We built, now, that's nice. It's a model of a very ambitious plan, which was then toned down to be like this. So we were a bit, we didn't quite succeed. We wanted this to be much more meaningful, but for the Germans it was already really wild and cool, and they even use it as a decor for movies. So this is the showdown in Tatort, something on German television. Sometimes and now we're building this thing, and so yeah, there's a lot coming up also in Germany, and sometimes it's also really cool. This is a culture center we built in Munich right now. So for us, the archive gives a self-reflection. For example, the answer now, or the question, have we become too German? It's a very interesting thing that we are discussing right now in the office. We also found out, because now we have an archivist who has made the archive accessible to us for the first time ever. We did a little research on, do we actually still draw by hand? Are we now only computer users, or do we still have some talents that are more old-fashioned perhaps? Yeah, we do. We actually have an entire toolbox, almost like a computer program, but then by hand sketches. So we do a lot with hand sketches still. See, we use them for all kinds of things. Sometimes we replace a render with them, or a concept diagram, or this was the thing that sold, the little sketch that sold the Expo 2000 to a minister, a concept for the Markthal, the first one, and quite recently, a concept for the stair. There was no time or money to make a render, so we just sent in this idea. Was good enough, actually, and it's very strong to convince the city to build it. We use drawings a lot to make our buildings cute and easy to understand. This is one of the most complex buildings that we're working on, and this drawing makes it very easy to understand, so that the city council was able to actually get it, what we wanted to say with it. It's sometimes they have a certain artistic value, but yeah, here again, something that makes it look like a child's drawing, very approachable, and that's what we like to do a lot. We can also test things very fast with hand drawings. So because of this archivist, we found out that we're actually also really good in testing things by hand. Something that we thought we weren't so good in, but we found lots. Or typologies. Apparently, maybe it's a Freudian thing, the Netherlands are quite flat. So we are obsessed with hills. We think that a hill is a good building. So we started, a hill can be an art project, it can be a post office headquarter, can be an opera building, it can be a station, it can be a holiday home, it can be a social housing, it can be a resort on the Montenegro coast, it can be, a research about the shiny city, can be housing in India for the middle classes, again the research, it can be a shopping center, it can be housing in Korea, and so factory transformation in Shenzhen, the hill is fantastic and we're using it a lot, and it can be a museum, nature museum, a golf course, it can be an arts installation, we built that one, and a shopping center. And also it will be a community center for a new neighborhood in Germany. We're building this in Germany, so maybe we're not so German at all. First mountain comes there. Also individualism, we saw, has a very strong meaning in our archive. And I showed you this one and that one, where we try to give people their own house, their own dream house. And that happens a lot in our work. We maybe had a big moment with this project in Rotterdam, where a family moved up their bedrooms onto their roof to have a more suburban lifestyle. Instead of moving into suburbia, they brought a piece of suburbia to the city center. And so they have an outside life, and they're very nice people. And they have a new lifestyle inside the city center. Because we built this, the city of Taipei asked us, we have lots of rooftop extensions, but they're not so nice. They're more like a slum. Can you think about telling people how to make them nice? We said, sure, yeah. So we designed this museum for them. Then we had to change the museum. It's different locations. We stacked it a bit more. And hey, we thought, wow, this is the start of a skyscraper, but made out of dream houses of people. So individualism becomes more important suddenly here. And if we stack it more, so we did this in Taiwan. We moved it to Seoul. moved it to Hamburg, again Germany, and to Milan. We turned it into a furniture series that the new institute didn't want to have because it's too big, so we still have it. Maybe Salt wants it. And as we started to research it more, the skyscraper got taller and taller, and we thought, wow, one day we will build this, that people design their own house, and then they live in these stacked boxes on top of each other. And we also sometimes build them, not yet designed by people. We are still the designer of this. This building will come in Amsterdam. Every apartment will be different and will be built exactly like this. Really funny. We also work with collective commissions, and we also give liberty in urbanism. This is urban planning, where you can do whatever you want. There are only small rules, a bit like SimCity. Don't do anything bad to your neighbor, and you have to organize everything yourself. Gas, water, electricity, bus, school, everything. You have to do it yourself, and it attracted an enormous amount of people that want to create their own life, have everything in their own hands. It's now under construction. And then where does this end, this quest for individualism? It ends with nanotechnology, that you suddenly live in a gray slur of material that does everything that you want, that adapts to everything that you ask it. So you move your hand like that, and a space appears suddenly, becomes big. So maybe that looks a bit like a dystopia, but this is maybe the end of the individualist, and this little vision of the future. It will be far away, but we're working on it right now. So how can we realize this? And on the way from zero, where we are now, to this material, maybe in 200 years, 500 years, we will actually make a lot of collateral innovations that will allow us to find beautiful things. Materials, also a big thing in our archive. See, we made this glass farm in a small village. We printed a farm onto glass, and it looks a bit like that. If you look outside, inside you're looking against this glass farm. It was a new technology, and then after that we were asked to design a Chanel store in Amsterdam, and we decided we're not going to print it again because we've done that. What about reconstructing an entire historical facade in massive glass? So we had to go to Venice to make this glass. It was a very precious project. We tested it. We developed our own transparent glue. We tested it. Is it good enough? Is it like concrete? It is as strong as concrete, actually. We tested that again. Huh? So lots of tests, and then it was revealed. And here you have this glass building by Chanel. Absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. You can see through everything. And that was a new innovation in terms of material for us. It's lovely. It's this rich shopping street in Amsterdam. And every time people pass by, and they have to touch it. So it's the most cleaned Chanel store in the world. Here is how it fits into the historical surrounding. Then we took the experiment further, went to Hong Kong, refurbished a factory into a creative office, and we said we are removing everything that's not concrete, and we're only bringing back glass. And this is the glass office. You see the lady sits in this transparent world. It's not for everybody, but if you don't like it, you don't have to rent there. It's specific environments for people who like them. Very important. And then we have a glass kitchen. And where do we end with this material movement? Also there we have a vision about the future. Where will this end, this glass thing? A glass city. Wouldn't that be fantastic? That's a city where you can see through the buildings, you can see the horizon and the nature that surrounds you. Well, there's more, of course. And you know, we have architecture is one of these disciplines that hasn't changed. If there's concrete in these old city walls here that you have in Istanbul. So what has changed? Mainly software. Now Suzanne has told already a lot, so I'm going to win a lot of time now by not explaining this because probably my lecture is way too small. But what we try to do is bring rationality into urban planning, for example. An urban planner is like God. He puts a street here, a building there, and he decides how people will actually do it. But is this the best choice? And we thought, well, if we design these softwares, then maybe we can make it more rational. And I'm going to come back to this later. You see, we have a lot of software that we tested, and we showed people how to, they could test them in exhibitions. And again, another problem for Suzanne and the New Institute to actually preserve all that stuff. We're designers, not archivists, so we don't have to. Markthal Rotterdam was our first building in another technological revolution, Revit. It was a trick to make a big public space without money. So we basically cover this market. We use apartments as walls and penthouse as a ceiling, in a very rational construction method that could be only done in the software Revit. We have a specialist now. This is Maria. Maria is our Revit specialist, and she is now also advising the government of Luxembourg how to actually do Revit. Now, in the past, we were basically designing software more as a concept, and now we have become real computer nerds, and that's one of them. And we're doing these buildings now in Revit, and they can become more complex because of that. Software does a lot, actually, to change. So suddenly we have a lot of innovation, and this is how it looks like. You cannot believe how clean these buildings are inside, because all the electric wires are actually in this drawing. This is like an X-ray of the entire building. And so yet there is no spontaneity when a plumber comes to put the plumbing in. He knows exactly where to do it, and it's very efficient. And you have these beautiful moments here. You see, this is a close-up. Again, another problem for the New Institute, how to preserve this. But for us, it's just fantastic that you can do all this. See, this is a Lego tower, but we put it in a computer. And a skyscraper like this is really stupid. You can enter, you can go up, you can go down. Maybe you can look outside. You don't see your neighbors because they're on the other side. So if you only change one parameter in a computer software, one stone, suddenly you have a room with three views. Whoops, sorry. You have an outside space. You have an address halfway through. That's great. Let's change more parameters. Then basically we put it in Revit. We add some qualities that we like natural light, meeting your neighbors, and then suddenly you get towers like that. Lego was very friendly. They sent us 1 million Lego stones so we could build these after we had designed them in the computer. And here you have them. 16 beautiful towers, all with European qualities, that you know your neighbors, intimacy, natural light, and more like really a vertical village, perhaps. Of course, we were not done with those 16 towers. We wanted to really research it, so we basically made a field of 500 towers and then asked Lego for another 1 million stones, and then we built them. And here you see them. So if anybody needs an European skyscraper in Istanbul, they can call us. We can send one of the Lego models, and you're done. I see that you build a lot of those things here, and they look kind of bland. What's the Turkish element in those skyscrapers? They all look. I mean, even Trump built one. It's maybe you should go a bit local. And this software also allows us to basically give people more power. Again, individualism. Now we connected suddenly with software becomes magic. We have 17 architects and 17 very egoistic clients who want their dream house. One of them is totally into, how do you call these, roller coasters. Another one, the perfect housewife. There is a mountaineer. So all these egos need their own dream house. So the architects started to design them. Then they were all put into a software. The software connected them into one very rational building, and this is how it looks like. Now you might say maybe that's also science fiction, and we love science fiction because there's an element of science in it at least, and it's also it really triggers your imagination. You see the green apartment in the center. It has a roller coaster in it. So this is really fantastic. Imagine you could build your own dream house here. And maybe this is something for the future, but maybe also because of this Revit software, we can quite soon start to build these things. And that's a real innovation. And then, of course, the New Institute has new problems. Thank you.